My name is Susanna Hoffman. I am a disaster anthropologist. I'm probably one of the founders of the field. I've done 14 books and I don't know how many articles. A couple of kind of key books like The Angry Earth and Catastrophe and Culture and the gap between knowledge, policy, and practice and Cooling Down, the climate change book. I am a disaster survivor, and that is how I started in this field. In the Oakland-Berkeley firestorm, I had lost everything. And that included the field work of 2.5 years of living in a cave in a very tiny, scruffy Greek village. At the time of the disaster, I had 3 copies of my field work, masses of onion skin paper. I grew up in the West, so I always thought there could be a disaster. So I had separated the 3 copies of my field work. One was in my office, I was working on it. One was in the basement, and one was in the freezer. Who expected that a fire of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit would burn the freezer and everything else? And so I was left at the end of the fire with literally nothing, no career, no library, no field notes. But I was gifted with something else, and that is being a survivor, the realization that I myself was in the middle of a laboratory, an anthropological laboratory. And everything that I had ever studied, from economics to politics to kinship and all the families pouring in, to voluntary associations, to religion, to ethics and morals, to conflict and animosity, to definitions of who belonged and who didn't belong, all was happening all around me. And so rather than recovering in the normal sense, I began to write. And my first writings actually was in the Journal of PTSD, and then into various anthropology societies, and then into these books that turned into Rather Key. So instead of me talking about the stories, since the stories are mine, I will say that what my job has been and what I continue to do is to be an overarcher. There are patterns to everything that people write about in disaster. There are themes of what goes on, the way everyone, for example, immediately starts helping each other. They all do. Or they all say, we will return, we will survive, it'll be the way it was, which it never is. And no one was writing these overarching connecting themes. And it is my belief that we need these themes, these patterns, to move this field forward. And that is what I write about. The overarching themes, I am now finishing up one on the anthropology of isolation that happens in epidemics, which we have to include as a disaster. It is part of disaster. I am writing about the themes of nostalgia, ecology, topology, that is pain of past, pain of place, and pain of home, because all disaster victims and all displacement victims go through these pains, and they're never delicately nuanced because there's deep culture in all of these things, very deep culture, how we perceive what we see, what we allow ourselves to hear, to smell, to taste, what we codify in our languages. And that is what I do in the field of disaster anthropology.